Marilyn Shannon, and this is Breaking Free. And I hope you're doing all right and had a great weekend. Welcome to the show. I know it's your time is precious, and I'm so happy that you're sharing your time with us today. And I want to say hello to Amnon. Without him, I swear I don't know what I would do.
Hello.
How are you?
You'll do just fine.
Not without you. I want you clean my glasses, you clean my computer, you do all these things for me when I come in. How are you?
I'm fine.
Guess
How was your
what?
week?
Oh,
What?
well,
What?
I
Guess-
am out of officially out of high school. Officially, 5 kids between me and my husband, and I am officially
Out of high school.
done with high school. Done.
Now-
Getting ready to go to college.
Now comes the hard part.
Well, I've had 4 already there, so one more won't, But I am officially done with high school. Yay!
Yay.
So it's been a good thing.
So you start saying, guess what?
Guess what? I'm done with high school.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's a guess what.
All right.
So, anyway, I always say this when I open up. We always bring you the most wonderful shows, heartfelt, important, strategic, just so many interesting things that, one day I don't even know what I'm going to bring. And then all of a sudden something appears and I go, yes, that's perfect for me and it's perfect for you. And that's what we want to do. We want to expand our way of thinking about things. We want to expand our horizon. And we want to know whatever we can know that's going to make each of our lives more fulfilling and make the planet just a better place. Well, it's already great. All we want to do is make it more aware. We want to become more aware of its greatness, let me say. So today, my guest is Tracy Baker, and she and I have become fast friends on Google+, and we are sharing the air of Google+. And I was really delighted to have Tracy come on today, and I'm going to give you a quote that Tracy says, and this is the quote. Quantum leaps in your current lifestyle are not sustainable way to live in a healthy life. So that's kind of like taking coffee and having an adrenaline rush just because you want to stay awake. And what does that do for you? You zoom up and you zoom down. And that is not a way to sustain a daily life. I mean, you can't sustain your energy if you go up and you go down. So today, Tracy and I are going to be talking about sustainable change in all areas of our life and how we do that. How can we learn from each other to take the steps that we need to take that we can sustain over the long haul? Not the short haul, the long haul. And Tracy is the owner of Healthy You Community on Google+. She is an advocate for health, well-being, and change. And I present you with Tracy Baker from Taos, New Mexico. Welcome.
Yay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Marilyn. It is so fantastic to, this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart in all aspects. I live it, I breathe it, I eat it, I practice it. And obviously I share it with anybody who will sit down long enough and listen to how they can make sustainable changes in their lives. And it's just amazing that you let me get on here and talk. I love having conversation with you, and it's just, let's see where we go. Woo, I'm excited.
Absolutely. And for everybody that's listening, remember you can always call in at 919-518-9773 from wherever you are. Now, of course, if you're at the other end of the world, that might not work. So for you and for anybody else, please share with us anytime by calling into computers, that's plural, 2K Voice on Skype. And also, if you notice, to the right of our video, there's a little space, and you can put your name there, and the chat window will open up, and you are more than welcome to add your comments, ask a question, whatever it is. So please join us, because this is a community of learners. So, Tracy, what and how do you define sustainable change?
I define sustainable change as, simply it's making changes in your life that are sustainable. And I think sustainability has a perceived definition. I think sustainable has, I've got to go green, or I have to go hug a tree, or I have to go solar and live off the grid. And so all of these perceived notions of what sustainability is kind of stifles people into making sustainable choices. And for me, and this movement that a bunch of us have started on sustainable change is getting people to realize that any positive change you make in your life, be it counting your gratitudes in the morning, be it taking a walk instead of watching a TV program, be it dropping off your kids at soccer practice and staying and walking around the fields, doing that every day, every day, every day is what is sustainable change in your life to bring health. And you and I talked before the show started about yo-yo dieting and how many of us have gained and lost that 15 pounds over the course of our lifetime. And you go on a diet and it's a 30-day program, or, you know, one of those crazy 7-day soup things. And it's not sustainable change. Sure, you may drop the pounds and fit into the dress for the event you need to go to. But if you don't change your lifestyle around this specific eating or the foods you consume, then the change is not sustainable. So what can we do every day in our practice, in all aspects of our lives, that are small little steps that give us the motivation that we're encouraged and have fun doing every day, so that we will do it every day and have lasting sustainable change in our lives. So, I happen to live off the grid, so I understand the solar part of it. I understand the grow your own food part of it, and the find healthy food and grass-fed beef part of it. But to me, it's just such a much bigger picture.
So it's not. So I think sometimes we look at it as it's a daunting task, that you have to cut down the wood, and you're going to be cold in the winter, and you have to be like the cavemen. Well, that is not what we're talking about, because that is not sustainable. Over time, from one extreme to the other is not sustainable. So you've got to find what fits for you that can allow you to take that, what we call freedom step, to take that smaller step and see where it leads to find your way into a bigger step. Tracy, go ahead.
Absolutely. Going off the grid, never, ever eating another slice of pizza again. Those are not sustainable changes. But I do happen to have my sole source of heat in the winter, and we get down into the -10s, -20s, stay at a constant 35-ish degrees. Our sole source of heat in the winter is our wood stove. So for us, that works. And, if you live in a big house in a big city and you don't even have access to firewood, then no, that's not a sustainable choice for you. But maybe you can buy a beautiful quilt and turn your heat a little bit, adjusting even 2 to 3 degrees over the course of the winter. With this big, beautiful quilt you now get to cuddle up under, that's a sustainable change. Yeah, your house is a few degrees colder, but you also get cuddle time. So there's benefits to that kind of sustainable change.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, no, it's interesting because I remember we had an ice storm here in North Carolina a couple of years ago, and we had no power. And, it's amazing what you do and how you get by when you have no choice, and just lying in bed with a blanket on, fortunately I have a husband, and, you can lie and use each other's body temperature, but you don't think about it normally. So it's what we want to do here, and what I want Tracy to do, and I know what Tracy wants to do, is to expand the way we're thinking. And so we don't want to think short and small. We want to think big. We want to see what the options are, because I don't even know what the options are. What change can I make? I mean, I do this, I do that, but what change can I make each and every day that will help sustain my changes? So that because one thing I can guarantee you, and you've all heard this before, one thing is there's going to be change. So now how do you sustain it?
Well, I think the first question is asking yourself, what do you want to change? Where in your life do you want to see change? Is it diet? Is it exercise? Is it happiness? Is it being able to get along better with people? Is it being able to make a difference in a world that is scary on the outside? I was talking to a friend of mine this weekend, and he just said, I'm stuck in this fear. and I just see all the negativity around, and I don't know what to do. And my suggestion to him was, go find a community center, go find a boys and girls club, go volunteer for Big Brothers Big Sisters. Everybody has a mentor. Just you get to choose to be a positive mentor in somebody's life, and you make that tiny little change in your day and in your scope, and you see how much you can help one person. Are you changing the world? Maybe not, but you're changing that kid's world, and that kid is changing your world. So if we all make tiny little steps, yes, we can't solve the drug problem in this country. Yes, we can't solve fear and misery, but we can take one little step in our own little world that is around us and make a change there. Because like you said, it's daunting to look at the huge big picture. It's scary and daunting. So you ask yourself, what little things do you want to change? You're feeling a little blue? Get a gratitude journal. Keep it by your bed. I do this with my husband at night. We think of 3 things that we were grateful for about each other every day. And it could be as simple as you put the toilet seat down. It could be as simple as you did the dishes without me asking. It could be as simple as you chopped all the kindling so I don't have to go chop kindling. But you think of wonderful things or grateful things that you are for your husband every single day. And what that does psychologically in your brain is it trains your brain to start looking for positive things your husband does. And you can't even imagine what that one sustainable change will do for your relationship. Anyway, ask yourself where you want to see change, and then figure out a little thing to do.
Okay, then this is great. So remember, so we have sustainability in our relationships. We have them at work. We have them in our communities. We have them for ourselves. I mean, we have them in our diet. Anywhere that you are involved, engrossed in something, and you want to be able to sustain it. You want to be able to think, okay, what is that one little trick that I can do that's going to make this happen and make me be able to keep it for longer periods of time? So we talked about relationship, which is a very big thing. And I loved what Tracy said about doing for somebody else, right? The other thing is asking for somebody else to do for you.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, you think?
I do, because I think people have a hard time asking for help. They feel it shows weakness. And, you will think less of me if I need your help. And that is just so not true. Asking, my career, my whole life has been in the restaurant business. And we had a saying, I used to put it up in every place I ever trained. I trained it in manuals. Who needs help? I need help. Because if you can train your staff to be in that helpful, I need help mentality, it just creates an atmosphere of teamwork. How many people go to work and it's not a teamwork atmosphere? Because everybody's fighting for their own little space, and they got to look good. They got to be good. They got to get that raise. But think of how much more you could do as a collaborative effort if everybody just said, hey, I need some help with this project. Hey, do you need help with your project? And that is an amazing sustainable change. Because think of the world if we were a teamwork world. Oh, it'd be a better place.
Well, like they say, it takes a village.
It takes a village. Yes, ma'am.
It takes a village. So Chris is on our chat, and she's asking, so she just got back from vacation. And this is a good thing, because a lot of times it takes so much for us to go on vacation, and then we go on vacation, and by the time we're on our vacation, we're already coming back from our vacation. So her question is, which is a really good question. So how do we sustain the energy from the break of the vacation? What do you think, Tracy?
I am a huge proponent of dream boarding. I think you can go back to your vacation anytime you want. If you take some deep breaths now that you're home and remember what was your favorite feeling while you're on vacation? Did you go to the beach and it was the toes in the sand and the water lapping and all of that? Did you go, I'm not sure where you went on vacation, Chris, but if you can really, really remember, and even if you don't visualize and even if you don't meditate, but really get that feeling of calm in your body and make it your happy place where you can go to. You know, when you go back to the office, take your favorite picture from your vacation and pin it up on your bulletin board or put it in a pretty funny frame on your desk. And when things go cuckoo at work, or things go cuckoo with carpool and kids and soccer and summer and mom, I'm bored, all of that, you can just go to your happy place, be it looking at a picture, be it on your desk or just in your mind, and you can say, this is why I work so hard. It becomes one of your whys to put that feeling in your everyday existence. Wake up with it, go to sleep with it, and that feeling of vacation space will travel in the rest of your day.
Yeah, and I think what Tracy said is so true. I mean, about our memories are stored, and all we really have to do is go. I mean, the good ones and the not so good ones. So what you want to do is you want to go back into the memory that is stored of being on that beach or having that relationship or having that special dinner, and go back in there. And when you do, you can relive the memory once again because it's fresh. It's right there. So it makes it a lot easier. And I think also it's just an indication that sometimes we just need to take those moments out of the day, that you can't just slam everything into 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. You have to think ahead and you have to plan for free time. No different than you would for an appointment, you know, whether it be business related, you know, whatever it is, you have to plan for it all. And that includes fun time, because without fun, you can't do anything. I mean, I have a motto, and it's, you know, you got to work hard to play hard, and you have to play hard to work hard. And you cannot play hard if you don't work hard, but you can't work hard if you don't play hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a good thing you brought up, Marilyn, about memories are stored. How often do we relive yucky memories to the point where we're just, you know, we're reliving this argument that we had with our spouse or our coworker or child, and, you know, oh, I should have said this and I should have said this, and well, next time I'll be ready, and I should have said this, and we relive those bad things. But if we don't remember to relive the good things, you know, there's a philosophy, the thoughts you feed are the thoughts that will breed. So why don't we start feeding the positive thoughts, feeding that feeling of vacation instead of the feeling of frustration with our everyday work? That is just that's almost one of my favorite sustainable changes. I read a book, I got turned on to Sean Acorn, The Happiness Advantage, and his training your brain slowly, training your brain actively to seek out the positive that happens in our daily life. It's hard to do because we're bombarded with negativity and fear and anxiety. And we have to really train our brains to go find that positive. And Chris can do that now because she has this fantastic vacation to remember and just go there in her happy space. And I know when Chris and my husband is Chris. So when Christopher and I take a vacation, we come back from that and we try to look at the pictures almost once a week so that we remember how much fun we had. Training the brain for positivity.
And it's interesting because so what Tracy's doing here is she's giving you all permission to know that you can sustain sustain change. You can sustain a happy thought. You can sustain these things. But there's action from the thought or the feeling or the experience to sustaining it. There's something sometimes you have to be willing to buy into in order to create that change. There's some work involved. It doesn't mean it's bad work. There's just something you have to do. Remember that I went to a workshop a long time ago. It was called The Pursuit of Happiness. And Eckhart Tolle, it was a seminar. Eckhart Tolle, who wrote, How versus Now, was there. And he was the keynote. And he, my goodness, did he put a hole in that thing about pursuit of happiness, because there ain't no such thing. Because if you're always in pursuit of happiness, you're never there. And he said, it's right here, right now. Forget being in pursuit of it, because that's like, you're always running to try to catch it. Forget that. Be there, acknowledge it. And the thing is, it is our birthright. It is the right of being born to be happy, to be joyful, to be connected, to change, to grow, to evolve. That is our birthright. And the more we do that, the less control anybody will have over us, because the stronger we will be. And the stronger we are from our core, the better everything is.
And I think in regards to happiness, and I wish that speech would have been recorded from Eckhart Tolle, because I don't think I've ever heard him, really address the pursuit of happiness issue. I have to go look that up. But I think one of the things we do as people is we look for happiness elsewhere. We look for happiness in things. I'll be happy when I get. I'll be happy when I achieve. I'll be happy if I could just get that car, find that boy, get the grades, get the promotion. And what Eckhart Tolle just said, and what Sean Akers says, and happiness is there for you now, power of now. You just have to choose it, because it comes from within. And I think that's another kind of whole nother topic on going within to find the things you need, instead of I can take this pill, or I can do this, or I can do that, and then I have my happiness. That's the pursuit part. The activity part is sitting down. I don't know, maybe Chris and her family, or whoever she took the vacation with, can sit down and write a story about it. I don't know if she journals, but everybody say your favorite part of your vacation, and that really brings it into the moment of now, wherever you are.
Yeah,
instead of pursuing the thing. Now you're going to work really hard for your next vacation, and keep the last vacation with you as you do it.
Right. Yeah, no, she actually, this is Chris, who is our co-producer. She just got back from a trip. So, and she was by herself. And it was magical, because she told me. So in order to keep the magic alive, she shared it with me. I know she's going to share it with other people. So that's another way to keep the magic alive. I just want to remind everybody out there that this is a really hot conversation. And we'd love you to call in, 919-518-9773, and that comes right into our studio. Or you can Skype in with us as well to computers, that's plural, the number 2, K Voice. And you can come in on Skype, and you can engage with us as well, because we'd love to hear from you. And if you're watching, you can also take part in the chat by just writing your name underneath the chat window, and you'll be in the chat. And you can just add comments, or there's a whole lot of things going on in there. So please take part. We'd love to have you. So before we started the show, Tracy was sharing some of the things that she does at home. And now these are the practical things that she does at home to sustain the change and sustain her lifestyle. And I think a lot of it is very interesting. So I would love for her to kind of go through some of that, how she lives, how she uses electricity, how she doesn't, how she lives. So why don't you do that? Because I think that's juicy.
Okay. I live off the grid, and it's my husband and myself. When we first decided to go off the grid, meaning we get our power from our own generated sources. We don't live on the electricity grid. We had bought a rural piece of land up in a place called Sunshine Valley, New Mexico, which crows flies is about 5 miles from the Colorado border. And it was going to be an astronomical expense to have Kit Carson, which is our electric company, dig trenches, put up poles, put transformers, yada, yada, and get electricity to our land. And for about a quarter of the price, we could go off the grid and build, have a solar system. And we had played with the idea of going off the grid anyway. My husband had done it before, and I wanted to do it, but had never had the opportunity. So we did it. We put together a system. Chris did. I don't know math on electronics. So Chris put together a system for us. Back then it was 4 panels and 12 batteries because he ran his entire shop from it. He's a master carpenter. We have since moved a couple of times. We live on a 10,000 acre grass-fed beef ranch called Wolf Springs Ranch. And we live in the bunkhouse, which is an incredibly small space, but it's just it's all we need. It's everything I feel like cleaning, so it's everything I want to sustain. And we now live with 1 panel and 2 batteries. Of course, I'm online a lot more now because I started a business that I work from the house. So I do have a generator that backs us up. And eventually we'll probably upgrade the system just because of the computers I'm running now. But it's a very easy way for us to live. We have, you just walk through your house and evaluate what you do and do not need electronics wise. For me, obviously, no blow dryer, no curling iron. This is what it does whenever I take a shower. We also make our coffee with a French press as opposed to a Mr. Coffee that's plugged in all the time with a clock that needs a battery or needs electricity that goes to it. We haven't owned a TV for 11 years, not necessary for electronics choice, but we want to control what comes into our world. So we do have back then it was a VCR, now it's a DVD that goes through my computer. But we just made all of these little choices of what we do and do not need. We don't need a food processor because you can just beat it up like they did in the old days and still make a beautiful cake. I do about 90% of my cooking off our wood stove in the winter, so we hardly ever turn on our stove and use propane during the 4 or 5 months of the winter. And we just live small. We live sustainable. And we started about 5 years ago with removing high fructose corn syrup from our diet. And we're extremely shocked about what we had to take out, what it was in. And then we started really expanding that movement of how we eat. And I really want to know my food. I personally want to know the guy who grew it or the young kid, because we hire a 4-H kid to raise our pig every year and raise a sheep for us every year that we can then process and have meat all year. But also know the company your food came from. Do they practice practices that are aligned with who you are? What is the carbon footprint from the rice? I mean, I eat rice. I live in New Mexico. There's not a whole lot of rice paddies. So I want to know how that rice is shipped to me. Does it go to Los Angeles and then Chicago and then down to Dallas and then to me because of the way the grocery store ships it? Oh, my huge carbon footprint. Can I find one that has closer paths to delivery? And just knowing where your food comes from. So that's kind of the way I think what Marilyn was asking. Living off the grid is easier than you think. Making little sustainable changes in your world is, as far as electricity goes, walk through your house. Do you really need that? More importantly, do you need it to be plugged in? I go to my big sister's house and I love her to death, and I'm not going to trash her on national TV, but good God, she doesn't need a television in every single room of her house that is constantly on, whether somebody's in the room or not in the room. And just those little changes, you can really sit down and look with your family and say, how much electricity do we waste? Do we need to turn the light on? Do you not need to turn the light on? All of those little choices lead to sustainable change.
Right.
There you go.
Well, first of all, one of the biggest things I want to say is I'm not so sure. It takes creativity. Remember that. It takes creativity to live like this. So that's kind of fun because you get to be creative with, how could I do this different? Or how can I expand here? Or what can I do here? But I'm not so sure that when Tracy said that this is living small, I'm not so sure this is living small. I tend to think it's living big. I think living small is, maybe that I can only do it this way. I can only have this. I can't live any other way but that. Now that's living small. But I think living big is, I can do without this now. How can I, how can I have what I want, or how can I eat, and how can I do this with, and thinking bigger about it rather than restricting ourselves to say, I cannot walk out of the house with curly hair. I have to have straight hair. It doesn't have to be that way. Now, we have a quote, or a paraphrase quote, on our chat that I want to say. Sam put this out here, and she said it's a Martha Washington quote about happiness. And she said that our happiness or our misery in life is dependent on our disposition and not our circumstances. So,
amen.
You know, and how
you change the way you look at things, the
yes.
things you look at will change. That's a fantastic Martha Washington quote.
Yes. So there are choices, like we've said over and over, to everything that we do. And how you look at things, no different than when we talk about quantum physics. What you look at is going to change based on who's doing the looking. So if you're looking at it from a small perspective, it's going to look small. If you look at it like a big perspective, you'll have options. You'll have so many options that you probably might even have a hard time choosing how to sustain your change with all the options that are actually out here for us.
That's a very good point. You know, I say that all the time. I live small. I say it all the time. And I'm not gonna again. Because that was a fantastic insight into my vernacular. I have never thought about it that way. Thank you very much, Miss Marilyn. You have opened my eyes.
To which piece? Which part?
Well, just, you know, when I describe my life to people, that is what I say is I live very small. And I need to quit saying that because I don't. I live maybe, I don't know, big picture, but I definitely live through my choices. And I think in my Healthy You community, we started a new category called Healthy Start.
Whoops. Have we lost something maybe? I think we have. We might. She's gone. Okay. So until she comes back. So Tracy started a community on Google Plus called Healthy You. And they talk about all kinds of healthy options from all different perspectives. So she's going to come back, no question, and she's going to share with us what that looks like and what she does with her community and what people are interested in. Because, you know, when we sit in our own little world sometimes, we don't always realize how many people there are just like us out there who are looking to sustain our life, our livelihood, and who are looking to do this and who are looking to do that and who's interested in this and who's interested in that. So when we come here to the Breaking Free Show, we want very much to connect with people and to learn about things that we all can help each other with. So she's back? Is that really her?
I'm back.
Okay.
I don't know what that was.
Well, it was what it was. So I was just saying that you started a community on Google Plus, and that you talk a lot about all kinds of areas about Healthy You. And when you can be part of a community of people who are learning just like you are, who are interested in somebody else's, like I say, toolbox. You know, Tracy's toolbox has tools in it that I might be interested in to put in my toolbox. And the more we can share each other's toolboxes, the greater our understanding is and the easier it feels to know that other people are doing it too. So you go on with your thought.
Well, I was talking about healthy starters, and, you know, there are people that see it in the scope of diet. They see the choices of diet and all the information about diet that is contradicting at some point. You should eat carbs. You shouldn't eat carbs. You should only eat meat. You should eat in the morning. You should eat in the afternoon before you work out. It's all confusing. And a lot of people get just confused about it. So they're stifled and they don't do anything because it's just easier to eat a bag of chips than it is to try and find an apple. And so we used as the image for Healthy Start a picture of the Himalayas because their diet goal is the top of the Himalaya. And what tiny little steps do they need to do to take to get themselves there? And it was just like you were saying earlier about sitting down, talking to yourself, talking to your family, and say, what little choices can we make in order to make tiny little changes? You don't have to do what some people do and clear everything out of their kitchen that has, a GMO or has a high fructose corn syrup or whatever. But you can start saying, let's make brownies from scratch instead of buying a package of brownies. And then we take out all those chemicals. And it's a friend of mine on Google, I had her on my show. She says it's not a matter of removing things from your diet. It's a matter of replacing things from your diet. I don't feel that I'm living any less unabundantly because the way I live off the grid. I've just found sustainable ways to do the same things that I wanted to do,
Yeah.
And it all goes into what little step can you do to get where you want to go.
And I would say that you're living on a different grid. And, and if you thought my comment earlier was good, here's a good one. Here's another really good one from Sam. She says she doesn't live small. She lives true.
Oh, that's
Write
fantastic.
that down. That's your tagline.
That is fantastic. Yes, I might have to swipe that, Sam. That's fantastic. Can we ask them questions?
Yeah, ask away.
How define your truth a little bit? How do you live off the grid? Do you live sustainably? What is your truth that you get to live? That would be fantastic to hear.
Well, and Sam can answer that, but I will So Sam, that's for you, or anybody on the chat, or anybody out there in the world that is listening to our show now. What does it mean to live true? And Sam just so happens was on our show several weeks ago, and yes,
she was the preparer.
Yes, she's the preparer.
Oh, I love her.
Sam, she loves you. Call it. I call in, Sam. I know you got stuff to share. This is a topic I know that's near and dear to your heart. So, give us a call. We love it. 919-518-9773. Give us a call. So until she does, Susiani says, I so get what Tracy is saying about living small. It does not mean that you limit yourself. It means that the possibilities become endless when you free yourself from the superfluous.
Ooh, very,
how about that?
Very good. Exactly what sustainable change is.
We got a call. And it's Sam. Sam, you there?
I'm here.
Hey, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hey. Hi.
How are you, Sam?
I'm doing good.
Cool. So what you
I'm
got
here.
to say? Yeah, so you're living your truth, ain't you? Sam?
I'm doing great.
You living your truth?
I am.
So Tracy asked the question, like, what's your truth? So what's your truth?
Wow. Truth is listening to that voice inside, so you know what is right for you, because truth for me may not be truth for someone else.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Yes. Well, that is your truth. So can you be a little more specific? Like in terms of what we're talking about, because this is a perfect conversation with you being here today. So in terms of what we're talking about, sustainable change, how would you tie in your truth and your way of thinking about being prepared to this notion of sustainable change?
I think we really have to go backwards in order to go forwards. I think we have gotten so caught up in progress that we haven't realized that some progress is not good. And you can go forward with the world and every generation, but we can't let go of and forget what we've had before. And so I think we've gotten away from a lot of the earth, from the basics, and this is the truth to me. I mean, it It is nature around us. It is what we have. We are part of all of it. And so this is kind of an interesting conversation, but it's fun. We've just got to, in order to be able to be more self-reliant, we've just got to go back to basics.
Yes.
Yes.
I totally agree. I had a lot of friends back east when Sandy came through, and no offense to the city folks, because I love the city folks and they're very good friends, but they really had a very limited understanding of what it meant, that there was a possibility they were going to be shut down without power for that extended amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends, God bless him, he called me and said, Trace, I know you live without power, which of course I don't. I live off the grid, but people don't understand that. I know you live without power. How do I keep my food cold? I just went and filled my refrigerator. And I'm thinking, okay, you're getting ready to be without power up to a couple of weeks, and you went to the grocery store and got food you have to keep cold. I don't normally am a proponent of canned goods, but when you're going to be without power, you might want to get something that's going to store, because that $200
Absolutely.
you just spent to fill your freezer is going to be bad in 3 days.
So, it's so funny we're talking about this, because I was going to say something about this. So last week, my refrigerator that I've had for 20 years went on the kaflooey, and it ain't coming back. And so, but I am, I'm expanding my way of thinking and my way of absorbing these things. So my husband brings in all these coolers and starts to put in ice, loads up like pitchers with water, and we freeze it, and so we have a chest freeze and freeze. And I'd never thought about those things. And he put ice in buckets in the refrigerator. I'd never thought of, to keep certain things cool. I never thought about those things.
Yeah,
and
good man. He's going to be good to have around.
Oh, he's very good from. Oh yes,
problem.
he's a little, he's like a what do you call, a Boy Scout, one of those.
And Marilyn, this is what we talked about: being prepared and being aware. First, you got to think about things.
Yeah, perfect. Because I didn't know that, but now, and I'm okay with saying I don't know that, because I don't know where now that I know that, where that is going to take me to something else I don't know that I can then know. Does that make sense?
Who's on first?
I know. All of us. Yeah, so Sam, that I it just so happens that Tracy watched your show. She hadn't seen a show before, and yours was the show she ended up watching. So she had a little bit of insight into the show that you and I did several weeks ago.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Well,
and all amazing and good points. And I think and I'm just going to be real, I think what happens is people hear the word sustainable, they hear the word prepared, or the slang is prepper now, and they see the extreme that is portrayed on the television, the news, the I don't know, Duck Dynasty guys, whatever, and they see the extreme and they never apply the philosophy to their life. And
exactly.
Just like you said on the show, being prepared doesn't mean you have to build a bunker and fill it with Spam and AK-47s. It means you have to be aware of what's going on around you, so that if something happens, you know what to do.
Yep.
Another friend of mine, again, a Sandy victim, didn't know how to put up a tent, and they couldn't live in their house because a tree fell and blah, blah, blah. And so they went and bought camping gear, thank God, I don't know, Cabela's or whatever, but they didn't know how to put it on. And they called me and they're like, how do you put up a tent? And I'm like, well, what tent did you buy? Did it not come with instructions? I just, and and they just totally were not prepared for the situation. And making all those, that would be a fun thing to do with your kids this summer. Go
Yeah.
camping in your backyard. Turn all the electricity off in your house one night and see what it's like. See what you have to do to figure out how to keep your food cold. Like, filling ice with it's not like you didn't have a warning that Sandy was coming, or that sometimes, except for tornadoes, you have some warning. Get yourself thinking and get yourself to be prepared. And then maybe those things you learn in that moment of trauma, you can carry on to your life. Hey, we lived 17 days without electricity. Do we really need to just go back to massive use? Or do we really need to turn on the TV every night? Let's read a book tonight. Let's play Monopoly. Do they even make Monopoly anymore? But you know what I mean.
Right. I have a question for you, Tracy. So,
go ahead.
Okay, so you're off the grid.
I am.
And you have a refrigerator that's run by propane and all these things. So what's next for you as far as sustainability? Personally.
As far as taking myself further into a sustainable existence?
Yes.
I think what would be next for us, and I have to include my husband in that, is to figure out a way. Actually, we want to buy a stove and an oven because it's very difficult to get one without a piezo thermocoupler. And I'd really like to start baking again. So as far as equipment wise, that's the next thing. But I think spreading the message, I don't know how I could get more off the grid or more sustainable. Eventually we will have our own homestead again. And when we go to design and build that, it will be more sustainable because we'll have water closer to us than we do now. Things like that will go into the design of our next homestead or home. But there's not in my current existence a next step except for spreading the message.
And what do you do for water?
We have the only water source we have on the ranch is our north well. And we haul water from the north well up to cisterns. And so that takes energy for the diesel to haul the water, the truck to haul the water up here. And we talked about it. There's just no solution because where we sit and where the aquifer is underneath us, there is no solution. So that's the only access to the aquifer. And
so I have a question.
Yeah.
Sam, don't go anywhere. So my question is, did you do this out of choice? Or was this?
It's not my ranch.
No, I know that, but the way you're living, I mean, you chose to live there. So are you doing this out of choice, or did this kind of just start happening to you, and then you kind of started going with it?
Well, a little of both. We did it. We were talking about it and thinking about it when we had our first piece of land 11 years ago. And we weighed the opportunity of having the electric company give us electricity, and it was astronomically expensive, something like $40,000. Or we could build a solar system that we needed that would run everything we had at the time for about $15,000. So needless to say, we chose, let's do it now because it's what's cost effective and it's what we wanted to do anyway. And then through those 11 years, we slowly eliminated things. We went, like I said, the system back then was 4 panels, 12 batteries, and we're down to 1 panel, 2 batteries. Because I really don't need this. I really don't need that. I don't need this. I don't need that. And we slowly take our consumption down and consumption down and consumption down so that we are living within our sustainable means. So it's a little of both.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Sam?
Does that make sense?
Hey, Sam, you there? Okay, maybe she's not. Okay, she might have. Okay, okay, that makes perfect sense. So I think it's anytime you're introduced to a concept, Tracy and I Tracy does a show with me on Google Plus a lot. Well, a lot, as many times as I've done it so far, right, Tracy?
Right.
About listening, called
Oh, it's
Skywire.
my favorite.
Yeah, and when you focus on something, like even just the word listening, some simple word like that, it expands your horizon, your listening horizon. Well, it's the same thing with what we're talking about today. I can promise you, I will look at things differently as I approach my day, the rest of my life, my week, whatever, and see, is this something? I mean, how do I sustain these great feelings? How do I sustain a show? How do you sustain a show? You have people that help. I mean, you don't do this by yourself. I've got Amnon here. Could I do this by myself? Sure. But why would I want to? Because I will burn myself out. Chris, who's in the chat, who's our co-producer, I mean, why would you want to do things by yourself? Same thing with Tracy. I mean, you do shows on Google Plus, and you have a lot of partnerships. That sustains your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Get together with people who have, like-minded. Mm-hmm. We are all over the place, and we are not hard to find anymore, are we?
No. And the more people, that you are the culmination of the 5 minds that you interact with most. Might as well choose the ones that are like-minded, that can take you where you want to go. That's why I built the Healthy You community. I wanted to talk about health. I wanted to see how art and poetry fit into health. I wanted to see how growing your own food and healthy planet category fit in. Not just, health is so much more than broccoli and a treadmill. I wanted to talk about all the aspects of health. And so I built a community, and now we've got 47 countries represented in there. The conversations are amazing because I get to hear what somebody across the planet is doing and the choices they're making and how they came, just like a conversation like this, how they came to make those choices. And it broadens my horizons and makes me look at things like, I could do that. I can put that in my life. I could put that in my life every day. And we started this with gratitude. We have fantastic gratitude conversations that go on throughout the week. So if you're feeling a little blue and yucky, rather than staying in there, I can pop into that conversation and see what everybody else is thankful for that day. And it just changes my whole outlook on life. But it all starts with community. It all starts with conversation. And it all starts with the willingness to grow and change. Mm-hmm. And then figuring out what you need to change.
Right.
And then figuring out what little step you can take today. So it's not the top of the Himalayas. And then doing that every day, consistently and persistently over a long period of time. Right. Which is what one of my mentors wrote in, he's a best-selling author, The Slight Edge. What we do is consistently and persistently over a long period of time. That's the difference between sustainable change and the quantum leap concept.
Absolutely. And this notion of gratitude, I know that when you're feeling, the only way to hold on to a good feeling, it's the only way. It's because it's so fleeting. The only way to hold on to it is to be in gratitude, to know that it isn't you only, that it's coming from some other place, and you're being helped. Otherwise, it will slip through your fingers as sure as sand will. So you really want to, I know I can say about anything here, but sometimes I'm afraid. But you want to keep your head out of where. Because it's the only way to hold. It's not your thing, right?
Keep your head out of the sand.
You got it. Because you got, that's not exactly what I was going to say, but that works.
That's the PG version.
Yeah, right, because we want to be kind to the children who might be listening. But seriously, you want to keep your head, your ego in check. Oh. So that you understand that when you are grateful, I'm grateful to Tracy, I'm grateful to Amnon, I'm grateful to all of you in the chat, to Chris, to Suziani, I can go through it. Lainey, Suziani, Michelle, everybody that's in the chat, everybody that's listening, I'm grateful to you. I don't do this. We don't do this alone. We don't bring in this is not all my energy alone. This is feeding off of each other's energy. So I'm grateful. Otherwise, where would I be? I mean, I can't even imagine. Where would any of us be? And Chris mentioned that there are lots of tax credits and things that are available to you for doing sustainable things at your home, at your office, so that you have to do a little research, but you can connect to it and you can know what's going on. You have something to say?
Yeah, Tracy, I wanted to ask. You said you started with 4 panels, 12 batteries.
Yes,
What
sir.
did you do? Did you actually take down the others and sold them, or you just disconnected them and they are there waiting for when you need them?
No, you must have met my husband.
No.
He is a wheeler dealer. He found somebody actually down in Todos Santos, Mexico, that needed just about our exact system. So he took it down. When we moved to here, he took the entire system, and oh darn, he had to load up his surfboards too and go down for a month and set up the system. So we did sell the old one and then just bought new to come here. Yeah.
Well, but that's part of sustainability, is to sell it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah. I'm a firm believer.
Yeah.
There's a young lady in my community that posts these fantastic thrift store finds and thrift store makeovers. And somebody asked me, what is that doing in Healthy You? And I said, she's saving the planet, baby. You're not going to Neiman Marcus and paying $700 for a skirt. You're going to the thrift store and paying $1.95, and the thing is getting reused. And that is all a concept of health. Health is big picture.
Yeah, and I mean, I wear furs of my grandmother.
Oh.
I mean, the linings are ripped to shreds, but they're her lining.
Yeah,
and I don't, I don't go buy a new fur coat. I wear hers. So I know we talked about this, but we have a question, and nobody can explain it better than you. So how do you get online at home? Michelle wants to know. Satellite? How do you do it?
I do it from a cell tower. We the way we sit, we have Rolling Hills and TousNet, who is the cell phone provider. The Wi-Fi provider for Taos County. We the owner of the ranch gave them permission to put a tower up on the hill, and then for trade, my husband and I built them a trom wall to keep their shack of batteries and generator and everything else warm. We built a trom wall for them. And if you don't know what a trom wall is, they're fantastic pieces of sustainable living forms of building. Go look it up. They're cool. And for trade on that, they gave us a one-off tower beam to the house. So long story short, we are Wi-Fi.
Well, Sam says this is her exact words. Oh, I love this lady. She is my soul sister. Stand in line.
Well, I'll have to get with Marilyn and get your information and hook up on a private conversation.
Definitely.
I would love that.
Definitely. And Michelle says thank you for that information. So Tracy, we're about out of time. So can you tell everyone how they find you and what they will find when they find you?
Mm-hmm. Goofiness is what you'll find when you find me. I have a very fun, happy life. And you can find me on Twitter, Tracy Baker, the letter N. You can find me on Google Plus, of course, Tracy Baker, through my Healthy You community. I also want to do a total shout out to the community, A World for Change TV. That is a collaboration between a bunch of us. Wayne Meter is the head of it. He is getting ready to go down and show intently one incredible facet of sustainability. It's going to a community in Alabama that is completely off the grid. They're going to do aquaponics. They're going to do gardening. They're going to do cob house building. So go look for us this next 2 weeks on aworldforchange.com, because it's going to be amazing shows like this, blog posts, getting that whole facet of sustainability out into the public. It's going to be real fun. So find us over there too, and you'll have some great information for the next couple of weeks.
Perfect. And, in keeping with breaking free, I mean, this is what breaking free is about. It's about our being able to be free from whatever that is, any kind of anything. Just allow us to be who we're supposed to be, and I'm not tied to this, and I'm not anchored to her, and I'm not connected to that, and I don't have to do anything. I live my truth. So live my truth. And so I just want to remind everybody, if you want to connect with me at all, anytime, you'll see my email above my head. Please feel free anytime to connect with me and reach out. You'll see us on Facebook, on Google+, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on all the social media sites. I had my oral surgery, so sometimes my tongue gets stuck. But anyway, you'll find us. And then in a couple of days, maybe today or tomorrow, we'll have the show notes up. And so all the notes from this show will be up on the breakingfreeshow.com website. You can find it there. And with that, I'm done. Any final words? He says no. He's shaking his head. What, Tracy? I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm not sure. I mean, I got bumped out, but I'm not sure how to actually get out of here.
Okay,
I've never been on Skype before.
Okay, you don't go away. You just stay right there. Sam, you there?
I'm here.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
It was a pleasure to join you. This is a great conversation, and we need to talk about this more.
Yes, we do. Do you have any final words for Tracy?
Oh, just looking forward to getting to know you better.
Cool.
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Tracy. Tracy, hold on. Everybody else out there, thank you so very much for being here today. It was fabulous. Look for us everywhere, and we will see you next week, same time, same channel. Bye.
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 You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.